So this is a tray that's full of birds, and every single one of them is a window kill, almost entirely from McCormick Place. And this has been in the news. There was a big event a year ago, basically, at McCormick Place, not this past fall, but the fall before. And it led to a big outcry in the city where people wanted to try to get decals put up. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service came in and worked with McCormick Place, and McCormick Place spent the money to put decals on. And Dave Willard, who's been monitoring the birds hitting the windows at McCormick Place for over 40 years, monitored this fall and got data that showed that the window decals were definitely making a big difference. But the other thing about a place like McCormick Place is when the curtains are open and the lights are on, that's over the 40-year period that Dave has been going around basically every spring and fall morning. That's when you begin to see the birds hitting the windows. As they come off the lake, they think they can fly right through the windows, and they end up casualties. And so this has been a good thing for getting people aware of what's going on in the city. It's also been a great research opportunity for us because we have massive data sets to look at changes in size in birds. And one of the things that's been shown by some colleagues of ours at the University of Michigan is that body size in all of the common birds hitting the McCormick Place windows are actually going down over this 40-year period that Dave's been collecting them. And that's consistent with climate change potentially driving smaller birds as climates warm. And so these are, this is the kind of stuff you can do when you have large data sets with large series of individuals that are densely sampled. You have really strong capacity to look at the statistics of the data over those time periods, which is really amazing. I always like to emphasize to people, there are a bunch of warblers here. Here's blackbirdian warbler, a bird you can, in the spring, the males will look like this and come through, and you could see them in Grant Park. You could see them almost anywhere in the city, and they're on their way up into Canada. But in the winter, they're spending their winter down in the Amazon basin. And every year, these birds are going back and forth like that.
Jen, what are some of the red ones on the bottom row?
So some of the more brightly colored birds in our area are things like scarlet tanager and hepatic tanager on the bottom, which, as Shannon would tell you, are not tanagers now. They're actually outside the tanagers based on genetic work. And then this is Baltimore oriole. And the wintering grounds of these birds are interesting. Both the two tanagers winter down in South America, whereas the oriole winters down in Central America. You got a bird like chimney swift, which I always like to point out has this incredible short tail with really stiff bristles, and it uses that for perching itself on the inside of chimneys. And these guys breed again in chimneys in North America. They probably used to breed in dead trees before Europeans got here, but now they almost all breed in structures. And then in the winter, they still actually basically disappear into the Amazon basin. In other words, they get there and people aren't sure where the big numbers are. And so there's a lot, we don't know even about some of these really common migrants that spend time in Chicago.